Welcome to the sleep masterclass. I'm going to pull up the slides right now. Bear with me as I find the button to do the presentation, and let's get started. So here we go. Full screen, present. Right, I am so excited to welcome you to the Sleep Solution to CEO Masterclass. I call it the solution to all your problems. It's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek title because sleep is the foundation of your success, or your continued success, I should say, as a CEO. But very often when we reach new levels of success, or we come at a snag in life, we are afraid that this is going to make us tumble. And because when the sleep goes, we start to overthink things, and it can be a vicious circle that it's very hard to get out of. So I want to discuss with you what can be done to support your sleep as a CEO, because so many people depend on you. For decisions, you have a lot of responsibility, and it almost feels like you're the last person that can afford not to sleep. So let's start this masterclass. At the very beginning, I want you to take 3 deep breaths. And I know this might sound a little bit woo-woo to you, but I'm going to ask you to humor me. I believe that we don't breathe enough or deeply enough. And so if you can take some time to take 3 deep breaths to relax before you consume this content, I think it's going to take you in good stead. So I'm going to do that myself as well, whilst I stay silent for a couple of seconds. And then imagine that every person you've interacted with today or in the past week, whenever you're watching this video, you've left a little bit of your energy with them. And I know this might be a new concept for you, but it's actually something that I've studied for years as a Reiki master, and I know that this actually can happen for real. We keep having these, even if it's not energetic, it's the mental connection to all the people we interact with. So imagine calling your name and your energy back to yourself. So I would say, Ange de Lumière, come back to me. I want you to do that 3 times as well, in your mind or out loud. It doesn't matter how you say it. Let's do that now. And then we're going to work a little bit with imagination. Imagine there's a door that leads to the masterclass so that you can leave everything behind and you can be fully present in the room with me. Of course, it's virtually, but let's do that. And I'm going to imagine a shower of golden energy, cleansing your energy, relaxing you, and helping you to get rid of any stress or negative energy that you're bringing to this masterclass. Right, just a little bit about me, if you don't know yet, if you haven't talked to me before. I'm French, which is why I have a slight accent, although not everybody picks up on it. I do live in the UK. I've lived in the UK now for over 20 years. It's going to be actually 23 years in July 2024. I'm a reformed business lawyer. I was actually more than just that. I was a mergers and acquisition lawyer for over 15 years. I traveled the world, negotiating or drafting documents for privatizations, for joint ventures, all sorts of things. It was fascinating. It was exciting. And I have no regret over my career. But I did come across some problems with sleep. Some of it happened when I was pregnant with my second child. It was mostly due to my marriage, but also because my career was becoming more and more difficult to manage as the mum of two young children. I don't know how much this has contributed to me deciding to train as a clinical hypnotherapist in 2007 after I left the corporate world, but I am very happy that I trained with the Clifton practice in Bristol. It's one of the most prestigious clinical hypnotherapy school in the UK. It's a year-long training, so, you know, it's not one of those intense weekend kind of piece of paper. No, I studied hypnotherapy for quite a long time. It's also a diploma of psychotherapy. I've always had an interest in psychology, so this is also part of the background that I bring to this masterclass, because I believe that sleep and the mind are intimately linked, which is of course what clinical hypnotherapists talk about. But it's more than that. It's also the mindset. It's also beliefs. And this is something I work with. Right, so enough about me. This is going to be more about you from now on. You're in the right place if you find it hard to get enough sleep. If you want to learn about what are the most common enemies of sleep, if you're ready to look at your sleep issues in a different way, but also if you're ready to take action about anything in your life, really, because the causes of insomnia or sleep difficulty can be incredibly varied. And we'll talk about that later on in the masterclass. But I also hoping that you want to make peace where you are, because if we don't make peace with where we are, we can't actually move forward. So if that's not you, you can just stop watching this recording. It's absolutely fine. You can leave my website, no harm done. But if it is you, stick with me, stay here, because I have something for you. So what are we going to cover? Why we don't sleep, the impact of lack of sleep, the five top sleep enemies, how society doesn't want us to sleep, what we can do about it. I'm going to show you my oracle deck, my sleep oracle deck. And after that, obviously, we won't do a Q&A because this is a pre-recording. It's not a live masterclass. But I will talk to you also about a special offer, which you're probably going to find described on the sales page where this video is going to sit. So I'm probably not going to go too much into the detail because I don't want to repeat what you've already read. So let's get stuck in. Before you continue to watch this video, I want you to scale the quality of your sleep. With one being really bad to the point of it disrupting your entire life, your social life, your health, your executive function, perhaps even your driving. Maybe you're afraid to drive at the moment. Maybe you fell asleep at the wheel and had a scare. 2, 10 being it really good. And if you're watching this video, my guess is that it's definitely not a 10. It's more likely to be between a 1 and a 6 or 7. But I also want you to scale how motivated are you to make the changes that would be needed to improve your sleep. So again, read these now and let's see if it changes by the end of the masterclass. Right. Good sleep versus bad sleep. This is a slide that I love because in a way, when we sleep well, we just do. We don't know why we did it. We don't know why it worked. We wake up the next day feeling refreshed. There's no effort in it. When we start not sleeping well, everything becomes an effort. We overthink everything. It seems that sleep eludes us. But the more we work hard at it, the more difficult it gets. So it's this really frustrating cycle where we just go down all these rabbit holes. And the more we try, the harder we try, the more difficult it gets. And I want to get you off that, almost that hamster wheel of trying to sleep. Let's talk about the short-term impact of lack of sleep. What does it look like for you? I can share my own experience. For me, I find it hard to focus. I tend to be more pessimistic. I'm a lot more sensitive to criticism. I don't cope with challenges very well, and I isolate myself. But I also want to add that I'm always concerned about making good decisions, or the opposite, bad decisions when I haven't slept a lot, because it affects the part of the brain that you use. When we sleep well, we use a lot more of the prefrontal cortex, which is where we are creative, solution finding, part of your brain. Whereas when we don't sleep well, we go into the reptile brain, the part of the brain that makes us worry, and that focuses on the negative, but also it's a part of the brain that is not very useful to find solutions. So there's also that cycle as well. It takes us to the wrong part of our brain. The long-term impact of lack of sleep or poor quality sleep is even more concerning. The research shows, and I will have a quote from the doctor. I can't remember his name, but he's coming up very soon. I've looked into his work. I'm so sorry about the phone ringing. I thought I'd put my phone on airplane mode, which I forgot. Never mind. I'm going to do it now. So the lack of sleep, as little as 45 minutes per day, and that's so easy for it to happen, can shorten your lifespan significantly. It can lower your psychological safety. That makes sense a lot, because when we are sleep deprived, we can be more snappy. We can tend to have a lot less patience. But people pick it up around you. And as a CEO, that can be a big issue, because people are going to start to avoid you, or they're going to start not trusting you. And you really need the trust of your staff in order to lead a company and make things happen. It increases the risk of cardiovascular disease. You really don't want that. You're already at risk from the stress of your job. It increases the risk of cancer and even psychiatric disorders. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this because I wouldn't want you to wait until it's too late, until you've had a crisis for you to take action. I want you to act now. And apparently, in only 1 week, with as little as 45 minutes of sleep deprivation per day, you can turn into pre-diabetic. So the signs are there. I find that quite scary, actually. It increases your appetite, and in the long term, it's the biggest contributor to Alzheimer and dementia. So we want to think long term as well. Right. So did you know, and this is coming from the research, that there's a 24% increase in heart attacks and car crashes. Sorry, there's too many N's, and road traffic accidents the day after daylight saving. I can't remember if daylight saving is in the autumn or the spring in Europe, where I live. We've just changed time in the UK. At the time of the recording, we've changed for 3 days. So there would have been either an increase or an improvement, depending on whether we had 1 more hour of sleep. I think, no, we lost an hour. So this is likely to have happened 3-4 days ago. I find that pretty sobering, actually, to think that there's such an increase in these instances just because of daylight savings. Right, so all the data that I've shared from now up to now are from Dr. Matthew Walker, who has a sleep clinic in California, part of the University of Berkeley, if I'm correct. And he says the sleep is the Swiss Army knife of health. That means that it is going to support all areas of health. If your sleep goes, you are likely to present with a lot more illnesses or diseases than if your sleep is good. So it is really worth investing in your sleep, whether it's time or money or both. Right. It wouldn't be funny if the CEO of Netflix was Netflix, sorry, was watching this masterclass. Netflix declared war on sleep in 2017, and this sounds like a joke, but actually, we live in a society, especially in the Western world, and I can vouch for the UK, but I think it's even worse in America, where there is a glorification of long working hours, and this was definitely the case for me when I worked in law firms. But actually, I didn't see a massive difference when I moved as an in-house lawyer. We worked incredibly long hours. As I mentioned earlier, we traveled the world. So very often we would have 8, 12, 14 hours in the flight. I did long haul that they're called. So I worked in South America. I went to Japan. I went to America. I went to Africa. All that traveling, and then we were expected the moment we arrived there to be fully functional and have a full day's work. So there's a glorification of that hard work, and actually the data about productivity shows that it's actually the less sleep or the more you work without a break, the more your executive function is going to be impacted. So it's actually really important to look after your sleep, but also to have regular breaks during the day. People who, like Margaret Thatcher, I'm trying to find the word in English, boasted about only needing 4 hours sleep a night. She ended up with dementia, which has been linked to lack of sleep. So just be aware that there's nothing to glorify here. We really need to look after our sleep. So I'm going to share with you the top 5 sleep enemies, but I do want you to understand that actually this is just surface level things. And I guess I'm sharing this here because you can change these things a little bit after watching this masterclass. But sleep is much more complex than just, sleep enemies. It's like a tissue of different habits that can impact on each other. And I've found in the work that I do with my clients that sometimes it's like literally a domino effect. You can't solve the sleep problem until you've gone up quite a few dominoes to change what's at the origin. But just for the purpose of today's masterclass, let's keep things simple. The top ones are tobacco, alcohol, caffeine, lack of exercise, and not enough darkness in the room that you sleep in. So obviously, there's all the medical conditions that can affect sleep apnea and other conditions, and of course, pain. So if you're able, but if you look at it, if you were, for example, drinking too much coffee, which is probably the most likely things that can happen to you as a CEO, I'm not saying that it should, giving up on your coffee might be really, really hard because you believe that you need the coffee to keep going. And I've met too many people, or many, many people, especially in law firms, who function on high levels of caffeine. But the problem is, it's that caffeine gives the wrong signal to your brain. It makes you think you're not tired, but the body is tired. So there's that dichotomy between what's happening in your brain and what's happening to your body. It doesn't take away the tiredness, it just masks it. And at the same time, it has a really vicious effect because it actually will impact the quality of your sleep and how well you can fall asleep at night. So it's a real vicious circle. I personally have moved to decaffeinated coffee, which tastes just as good. But I've met some clients who have absolutely refused to change their coffee consumption, in which case we can work around it. But I will say I would much rather that we work on your belief that you need the coffee to start with, and then ease a little bit and soften things around that caffeine consumption. But that's just one example. There's so many different things that can come into play. I would like you to maybe pause this video for a minute. If you have a notebook at hand, please grab it and a pen and try and think about what have you done in the past that's worked. And if you have done something that worked, are you still doing it? And if you're not doing it, why not? And I guess the reason I'm asking all these questions is because it's silly to try to reinvent the wheel if you know that something's worked before. But very often, even if we have something that works, we can fall off the bandwagon. We can let go of the practice because it's not been ingrained enough as a habit into our lives. And so it hasn't stuck. So at the first possible crisis, maybe that's happened in your life, this fairly new habit dissipated and you went back to your old habits, because we're wired to function on our most ancient habits, if so to speak. I hope that makes sense. So I want you, with regards to your sleep, to do detective work, okay? I want you to look at all the different things that are happening in your life. This is something we do in the package. I take you through an entire, it's almost like a complete life audit. Because, and it's something that I have loved in my training, in clinical hypnotherapy, we say that the presenting issue is rarely the true one. So we cannot take things at face value. If your sleep seems to be impacted by, say, something, let's say it was smoking, the real issue might be something completely different. It could be a belief, it could be an emotional issue, it could be a health issue. Okay, so we need to do that audit. There is a very big difference in terms of poor sleep if the thing that you struggle is to go to sleep, or if it is that you wake up in the middle of the night, say 4 or 5 o'clock, and you can't go back to sleep. And these warrant completely different solutions. So again, that's something that we're going to look at. That's something that clinical hypnotherapy addresses very, very powerfully. If it's struggling to go to sleep, maybe melatonin might be your best friend. But generally, it's rooted in too high levels of stress. So we need to look at the cause rather than to try and control the effects. And that's why it's not a good idea to be on a regular medications such as melatonin or sleeping pills, because you're not addressing the real issue, and we're not putting in place measures that are going to help you to sleep better unaided, basically. So we want to take away the crutches at some point, but work towards it by having a plan. So this is where I'm going to show you my sleep deck. I feel a little bit nervous doing that because I'm not sure if you're really open to the power of oracle cards. I've created 4 decks myself. After my 15-year career as a lawyer, I actually became a tarot reader, a little bit by chance, and I've discovered that it was a really, really powerful modality. So I've now been a tarot reader for 18 years. And it's been a fascinating journey, but it's also a journey where I've tried and tested, and if it worked, I keep doing it, and if it doesn't, I tweak. So it's been, I'm not going to say it's fully scientific, but it's definitely coming from a lawyer's perspective with testing what I get constantly and getting feedback from my clients. But let me show you a little bit the cards. I'm going to stop the share just for a few minutes so you can see the cards, because I'm quite proud of this deck that I've created. I don't sell it. I just use it to work with my clients. So one of the aspects that can impact your sleep is clutter. So I have this card for clutter. Sometimes it's because the body is tense. So I have a card for massage. Sometimes we need to get more music in our lives to help with our sleep. I have aromatherapy, pain I talked about. Sometimes trauma impacts our sleep. So I have, I think it's 54 cards in this deck that have all the different reasons why your sleep might be impacted. So you can see there's a lot of reasons. Could be because you have to go to the toilet all the time. Well, you can't really change that by drinking less. What you really want is to train your brain to be able to go back to sleep really easily. So you get up, you go to the toilet, you come back, you go back to sleep without even worrying about whether you can, right? Well, let's go back to the slides. Normally, when I run this masterclass live, this would be a time for Q&As. What I will say is feel free to message me. I'm not going to give my email on this masterclass because it's not gated, but there is a contact form on the website where you'll be able to message me. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Ange de Lumière, and I'm very happy for you to slide into my DMs if you have any questions about this masterclass. Right, so I bring a lot to the practice that I run. It's not just clinical hypnotherapy. I have things that are a little bit more exotic. If you're not comfortable with me using them, I'll always ask you at the start of our work together, but it's worth keeping an open mind as to what could help, okay? When I say that it's also business intelligence, I've told you I had 15 years of experience as a joint venture, mergers acquisition lawyer, and I have found that with some of my clients, their lack of sleep is linked to something related to business that's bugging them. So if I can get into the cause, into the root, and we can discuss that, and maybe I can offer solutions. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's down to you what you want to decide. But I've had some surprising results thanks to these two things that I bring together, my psychic abilities, but also my business intelligence. And I'll share with you something that I've discovered in the 15, 18 years that I've explored a different part of my brain, my intuitive brain, is that I consider that intelligence sits on knowledge. So the more knowledgeable you are, the more intelligent you are, the stronger, the more powerful your intuition is going to be. And I consider intuitive intelligence as being the highest form of intelligence that you can aim for. And I really wish that upon you because it makes life a lot easier. It makes decision-making process a lot easier. I've actually run masterclasses where I teach my clients how to integrate intuition into a proper decision-making process. So that's also something that we might touch upon in this package or not, depending on whether it's needed or not, okay? I'm mentioning pricing because I had an entrepreneur who was finding it really hard to sleep because they had to constantly be in that hustle mode because they weren't charging enough for their services. So I'm sure you're familiar with the hustle culture. I know that when you use intuition, you can actually reduce massively the amount of time that you take to do a task. For example, I'll give you a very simple example. For me, writing a blog post takes me an average of 10 to 15 minutes. I'm not saying that sometimes I don't take a bit longer, but I'm sure that if you asked any other blogger, they'd probably tell you they take more like half an hour to an hour. So that can really make you more efficient. But this is not for you to cram more into your life. It's for you to have more time to look after yourself. Right, so obviously you can research all the stuff that I've just shared in this masterclass and do it yourself, but you're a busy person. I'm assuming as a CEO, you have very little time. So it's probably best if you rely on me to support you because I can go to the solution a lot faster than you would on your own. I have years of experience. I've researched the subject extensively. And also, I'm also very keen on referring people to the right specialist if they need to see one. I'm not the kind of person who wants to keep their clients captive. So if I was shown a certain aspect of your life that you need to work on, especially, for example, if it's a medical aspect, then I will very quickly let you know and directly, in the right, show you the right direction or connect you to people that I think can help. But it's very important also to have a plan and ongoing support. And this is what I'm offering with my 2-week package. So you'll have probably read the details already on the page. I'm not going to rehash them, just to say that I know that it's very convenient, all this online mentoring, for people who are super busy and who can't think of fitting yet another call into their day. If you have a phone, it doesn't have to be on Facebook, but Facebook has one aspect that is absolutely brilliant for this sort of online mentoring, because I can share images, I can share videos, I can share audio, but I can also organize it all in one simple Facebook group where it's just for you and me. And I found that this has an incredible power and very, very efficient. However, if you prefer to do it in Slack, I don't have a problem with that. It's not going to be as organized though, but I'm happy to do that. So my package is a 2-week package. It's like almost like a kickstart your sleep package, where we'll have 1 hour. So that 1 hour you need to spend with me, but we'll be working very, very fast at identifying what the real issue is, putting a plan together, doing whatever mindset work is needed to be done around your sleep. And then I launch you into your plan. You implement it on your own, but with my support online for 2 weeks. And then we review after 2 weeks and we decide what's next, if anything else is needed. All right. So I can't promise you that your sleep's going to be resolved in 2 weeks, but I can promise you that you will have a plan and you'll know what to do. And that level of clarity is sometimes what eludes us and what can keep us in the worrying cycle about, when am I going to get this sleep sorted? So I did mention earlier that I do a sleep audit. I'm not going to go too much through the details, but I don't think this is on the page. So just to let you know, I'm going to ask you to list the top 10 problems you're dealing with right now, assess your stress levels, and then we're going to get into the heart of what clinical hypnotherapy is about. What happens when we worry, the impact that the worry has on our actual biology, and all sorts of things. The investment is £500. And then after that, if you need ongoing support, it's usually £111 per month. This is probably not going to apply when you look at this page, the discount. So I'm going to skip over that. I have 2 testimonials that are probably on the sale page. So I'm going to skip through them again. And you have the link to book on this sales page. So you can just go ahead. Thank you so much for watching this masterclass replay. I really appreciate your time. I know you're time poor, so I'm not going to waffle on. And I hope you book your package, but you can also book a discovery call just to see if we get along. So thank you very much. And hopefully we will start working together very soon.